All right, welcome back to Hot Stove Leading the League with Russell Dorsey, our good friend. You can read his work on Yahoo Sports. You can see him frequently here on MLB Network, including this morning right now on Hot Stove. How
and you can
Russell?
see him at 107.7.
Yeah, I love your setup, man. The microphone's on point. You sound and look great. Congratulations.
Thank you, guys. How are we doing this morning?
We're doing great. Let's get your thoughts on Yusei Kikuchi going to the Angels, as reported first by our John Heyman. 3 years, $63 million deals to go to Anaheim. What do you think?
One, I think it's a solid deal for Yusei Kikuchi, a guy who really turned things around early in the season last year with the Toronto Blue Jays, getting traded to Houston. And guys, when he got traded to the Astros, he wasn't pitching his best ball, but as the Astros do, they made a tweak here, tweak there, got the best out of Yusei Kikuchi. And he's a guy that has been able to miss bats, especially over the last year. And I think that's something that's going to be huge for that Angels rotation that's added Kikuchi. You go out and you add Kyle Hendricks, who's pitched in the big leagues for a long time. Jose Soriano, who had a solid year. If you get Reed Detmers to pitch like you expect Reed Detmers to pitch, that's probably a guy that's the frontline starter of your rotation, a guy that can get over 200 strikeouts in a year. So I think it's a good move for the Angels and a good move for Kikuchi. And now I think with the Angels, now you're looking at that offense, right? You know you're not going to have Zach Neto back for the beginning of the season. Nolan Shonawell is a guy that's shown he can be a guy that can get on base. What is Mike Trout going to give you? I think that's the big question that we all want to know. Do you move him to a corner? Do you DH him? You know, Taylor Ward's a guy that's been able to have some solid success for them over the last couple of years. So I like this move for the Angels. Now I'm just looking at how you get that offense going. I know they added Soler as well and Travis d'Arnaud. So they've made some moves that are really interesting. I'm just curious to see how it all comes together.
I mean, Soler, d'Arnaud, now Kikuchi. You know, I think Artie's opening up the wallet a little bit. You know, he's giving him a little bit. He's starting to turn this thing around slowly. And so the Angels are going to be fun to watch. I got a question for you, Russell. This is kind of off the cuff. And for both of you guys, isn't it amazing what all the pitchers coming over from Japan are doing? We got to unlock this secret. I mean, they are dealing, and they're staying healthy. I think that's the big thing. I'm curious your thoughts, right off the top of your head, what you might think, why that's working so well.
You know, I think when guys come over to the States, you know, teams are really putting them in a position to succeed, right? It's not just, hey, you're going to come over here, you're going to throw 215 innings. Guys are really working into their success. And even when they have some dips like Kikuchi had for a couple of years, going back to Seattle before he even got to Toronto, you know, you're finding the team that, you know, is right for you. I think sometimes we think, hey, you got to go to all these big market teams where, you know, you're going to get paid and you're going to do this, you're going to do that. I think sometimes fit is everything. And so you have a guy like you said, Kikuchi, you know, it doesn't work in Seattle. He goes to Toronto, has some success there. And then you get moved to a team like the Houston Astros where all they've done for the better part of the last decade is win and develop starting pitching. And you go pick up some things. And so I think for Kikuchi, that trade might have been the best thing that ever happened to him. And it's a very small part of what will be a long career. So, yeah, I think we put guys in a position to succeed when they come to the States. You're likely going to get the best out of them. And when you're investing, what we see teams investing in, you know, Yamamoto and what will be Roki Sasaki and Shohei, like you want to keep those guys healthy for the long haul.
Yeah, to your point, Zach Neto, there's a good chance he does not is not available for opening day. He had shoulder surgery, and per Perry Manassian saying that his opening day availability is in jeopardy. Welcome back to Hot Stove. Obviously, this is a big time for football, and it certainly was over the weekend. At Yankee Stadium on Saturday, Notre Dame blew out Army, the Irish on their way to their inevitable blowout loss in the college football playoff. But they looked good doing it on Saturday there at Yankee Stadium. And how about this? Couple of Dodgers being honored and bringing the World Series trophy as the Rams took on the Philadelphia Eagles in Sunday Night Football. Shout out to those of you that faced Saquon Barkley in your fantasy league. 50-plus points. And then Dave Roberts, Doc, being honored on Saturday as UCLA took on their inner-city rival, the USC Trojans, over the weekend. USC holding on to defeat UCLA. I don't think USC gets into the college football playoffs.
No, they're like 6-5.
Yeah.
They just became bowl eligible.
Shout out to Lincoln Riley. He's doing a great job there in USC. That's going to turn out to be a wise investment.
You think so?
It's not. So we thought we would. We thought with all this football and kind of the baseball ties that we would build a football team based of solely football players. All right, there's a lot of cross-pollination of baseball players. Excuse me, cross-pollination between the two sports. A lot of football players played baseball and vice versa, that sort of thing. So why don't we start with the Sal Frelick?
Oh,
I mean, that makes perfect sense
this
right
is
here.
Him in high school.
Milwaukee Brewers.
All right.
He was a Gatorade high school player, I believe,
of the year in the area of
in Massachusetts, I believe.
Quarterback doing his thing. I had this all fired up, ready to go.
Yeah.
During the playoffs, and we never got it in.
No. And now Harrison Bader.
But
He's a wonder on the base paths, and Mike Trout, when healthy, is also the same. This could be a nice compliment to Sal Frelick in the backfield.
I think you got, just look at it, the physique. Those two definitely be running backs.
Yeah.
But for real, you don't have to think too far. Stanton and Judge were both guys that were recruited.
Sure, makes
in.
sense.
Stanton with USC and Judge with Fresno State. Aaron Judge went to Fresno State on a football recruiting trip, walked over to the baseball field.
Boy.
That's how he became baseball.
Just two imposing physical specimens, two dudes that you want to get off the bus first when your team rolls up to the high school football game. Adolis Garcia, he could be a safety, defensive back, maybe even a Mike linebacker, if you will.
Yeah, he cut up, man.
Now, if you want, there's a good chance that Travis Hunter of the Colorado Buffaloes is your Heisman Trophy winner because he plays both offense and defense. Shohei Ohtani could do both as well. He could put him, we could be maybe a tight end and then a safety on defense if necessary.
And he's 6'4", 6'5". I mean, he's a specimen.
Right. So this is what our baseball / football team, our hot stove MLB football team would look like. We got Sal Frelick as our quarterback, dual threat. Harrison Bader and Mike Trout are our running backs. I think Harrison Bader's kind of our third down receiving back. The tight end position, if we want to run 12 personnel, with the two tight ends, Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge. At receiver, we got speed on the outside with Witt Jr. and Ellie De La Cruz. Shohei Ohtani is our dual threat. Adolis Garcia is our DN. And our kicker is Paul O'Neill. Why Paul O'Neill? Because, back in 1989, he showed that he could do a little bit of both there. Nicely done, Paul O'Neill, preventing the run from score. Is that Mariano Duncan?
Or Steve Jeltz. I didn't get a good look. But, yes, I think that was Mariano Duncan.
Yeah. I'm being told that we forgot someone. Did we forget someone that... Yes, Mark DeRosa. Maybe he could be our quarterback instead, leading the Penn Quakers to an Ivy League title back in his day. Look at a young D-Row right there. Excellent.
The other guy I want to throw out there, man. I mean, look, this wouldn't even be a conversation had Kyler Murray signed with the A's.
That's true. I think we're erring and not putting Kyler Murray. Now, he and the Arizona Cardinals took it on the chin over the weekend yesterday in Seattle, but he and the Arizona Cardinals, I believe they're tied for first.
Back in the day, Ryan Sandberg was the #1 recruited quarterback in the country.
Makes sense. It makes sense.
We could.
I'm not sure.
Mention Bo Jackson or Sanders I mean,
at the end of the show, we're going to show him throwing you out.
Yeah,
just because that's great video. That's just great.
Still safe.
Much more on the other side. Steve Phillips will join the show. We're going to talk about Walker Buehler. What's his market like after he closed out the World Series for the Los Angeles Dodgers? Steve Phillips.
Oh, no.
Hot Stove
Pressure
continues.
on Steve. You better bring something.
Welcome back to Hot Stove, presented by the United States Marine Corps. It's another edition of Fill in the Scorecard with Steve Phillips, our insider, and he's also the host of the leadoff spot on Sirius XM. You can hear him every morning on Sirius XM with Xavier Scruggs, and don't forget Eduardo Perez. Steve is so great on that show, but there is one thing that annoys me that he does. He has a habit, H, of singing when they come back from break.
Yeah,
he sings along with the song. And I told him this, Steve, it really irks me, and I have no reason why. Other than it does.
He's the guy going to Wicked at the movie.
I know. If you could work on that moving forward, I would be greatly appreciated.
Now what I've done, if you listen, I work your name into every song now as I sing it and bring it back in out of the break.
I know.
So I sing this one's for you, Robert Flores, every time I come in.
Yeah. So, hey, let's talk about Walker Buehler, because I'm sure he's been the subject of some segments on your show. It's an interesting case, and I heard you and Xavier talking about it this morning. What do you think his market is like?
Yeah, so I think everybody's going to be in on him because there's a chance that he significantly could outperform a contract because he's not going to get the contract of an ace like he had been previously with the Dodgers. He pitched poorly last year, and although his stuff came back a little bit in the playoffs, his ERA still wasn't great in the playoffs, but he was electric. The season ended with him on the mound for the Dodgers winning the World Series, and so I think that for him, it's going to be interesting to see what type of deal does he want. Does he want a deal where he goes out in 2025, pitches like an ace on a pillow contract, then goes out to free agency again, or does he seek security with opt-outs after year 1, year 2, year 3, to where he's protected with some security, but also protected that if he does blossom going back to ace status, he can get back out to free agency. The Yankees are in on him, the Mets are in on him, the Braves are in on him, the Orioles are in on him. Everybody's in because the price point's going to be not Corbin Burns, not Max Fried, not Blake Snell, but there's a chance he could outpitch some of those guys if he gets back on track again. The one thing that's interesting, Mark Kotsay over the weekend came out in an interview and said that the A's had checked in with Buehler because, again, why not? The price point's going to be a little bit less. But Buehler said that he's not interested in pitching in Sacramento, which to me means probably he's not interested in Tampa either in pitching in a minor league stadium for next year or the next several years. So I think it's going to be interesting, but a lot of teams in on Walker Buehler.
Well, it's tough to go from winning the World Series and saying, yeah, let me go pitch where I don't know where I'm going to be.
Right.
You know, he has that right. But, yeah, he's going to have some suitors, no doubt about it. That's a good call, Steve. You're 1 for 1 so far. What's next?
Let's talk about, let's stay with the Dodgers here just for a second. And Tommy Edman, what a valuable midseason acquisition he was. There's a report that the team and Edman are discussing an extension. What do you think that looks like? What do you make of it?
Yeah, so it makes a lot of sense. I mean, you think he's a 5+ service time guy, another year of control. Remember, Chris Taylor's contract expires after this next season. He's making $13 million a year. Kike Hernandez, they signed for like $4 million a year. But I mean, he is that versatile player. Can play in the outfield, can play in the infield. And so, you know, Tommy Tanks, as we got to know him a little bit down the stretch there, came up with so many big hits. The value of his versatility, of his impact. You know, he can bat first, second, third, seventh, eighth, ninth in a lineup. You know, he can really bat in so many different places that he gives Dave Roberts so many different options as to what he can do. And so not a surprise they want to lock him up. They've coveted him for a number of years. And I think that, you know, I don't think he's a $20 million a year guy, but I think at the age of 30, you know, you're probably looking at 28, 29, 30. You're looking at probably, you know, a 5-year, 6-year contract potentially at somewhere around $18 million a year. And I think it makes a lot of sense. He's a good athlete, going to stay healthy for a long time.
Grew up in the area.
Just seems like the prototypical modern Dodger player.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. He's the new look Dodger.
Plays everywhere, very versatile. That definitely makes a lot of sense. Let's talk about Alex Bregman.
こちらの動画では MLB の最新情報を中心に選手たちの移籍や市場での動向、さらに注目の戦略について詳しく掘り下げてきました。雄星、菊池選手のエンゼルスへの移籍は、ファンにとって非常に興味深い話題であり、今後のエンゼルスの投手陣にどのような影響を与えるのか、大きな期待が寄せられています。また、ウォーカー・ビューラー選手の移籍市場での存在感、そしてトミー・エドマン選手がもたらす多彩な貢献など、 どの話題も MLB の進化と未来を象徴するものです。まず、雄星菊池選手がエンゼルスと3年契約を結んだことは、エンゼルスの投手陣強化において重要な一歩です。彼はアストロズでの短い期間で適応能力を見せ、トロントブルージェイズ時代には安定感じある投球を披露しました。彼がエンゼルスでどのような役割を果たすのか、また、レイド・デトマーズやカイル・ヘンドリックスら他の投手陣との連携がどのように進化するのか、とても楽しみです。エンゼルスのファンにとって、菊池選手がこの新たな環境で成功を収める方を見るのは格別でしょう。さらに、日本から MLB に挑戦する選手たちがいかにアメリカで成功を収めているかについても注目が詰まっています。近年では翔平大谷選手、山本由伸選手、そして将来的には佐々木朗希選手など日本の才能ある選手たちが次々と MLB で輝いています。その背景にはアメリカの球団が選手個々の特性を理解し、適切なサポート体制を構築していることが挙げられます。例えば、菊池選手がシアトルでの苦しい時期を乗り越え、トロントでの成功を経て、アストロズでさらに成長したように、適切な環境がいかに選手の能力を引き出すかが証明されています。次に、ウォーカー・ビューラー選手の移籍市場での注目度について、彼はドジャースの一員としてワールドシリーズを制覇し、その後も多くのファンの心を掴んでいます。彼の次なるステップは、短期契約での再起か、長期契約で安定を求めるのか、いずれにしても彼の能力を求めるチームは多く存在します。ヤンキース、メッツ、ブレーブス、そしてオリオールズなど、多くの強豪チームが彼に興味を示していることは明らかです。彼がどのチームを選ぶにせよ、再び MLB で輝く姿を見るのが楽しみですね。また、トミー・エドマン選手の多彩なプレースタイルも注目されています。彼はドジャースのラインナップに多くの選択肢をもたらすだけでなく、チームの戦術的な幅を広げる重要な存在です。内野も外野も守れる彼の柔軟性は、現代野球において不可欠なスキルであり、ドジャースが彼との契約延長を検討しているのも納得です。このような選手がいることで、チーム全体の指揮や戦略の幅が広がることは間違いありません。最後に、動画で触れた MLB 選手で構成するフットボールチームのアイデアもユニークで面白いですね。翔平大谷選手がデュアルスレッドプレーヤーとして活躍し、アーロン・ジャッジ選手やジャンカルロ・スタントン選手がラインアップを支える姿を想像するだけでもワクワクします。こうした発想はスポーツを超えた楽しさを提供し、ファンの想像力を刺激します。今回の動画を通じて、MLB の最新情報と、それを支える選手たちの努力やストーリーを皆さんと共有できたことを嬉しく思います。野球は単なるスポーツではなく、選手たちの挑戦、成長、そしてチーム全体の結束を描く素晴らしいドラマです。このような話題がファンの皆さんに新たな視点や感動をもたらすことを願っています。もしこの動画を楽しんでいただけましたら、ぜひいいねとチャンネル登録をお願いします。また、コメント欄で今回の話題に対するご意見や注目している選手、好きなチームについてぜひ教えてください。皆さんのコメントが次回の動画作成の大きな励みになります。これからも Mlb の最新情報や魅力的なコンテンツをお届けしていきますので、どうぞお楽しみに。次回の動画でまたお会いしましょう。